T. Hoffman, and welcome to today's lesson from the Proactive Practice Program. Today, we're going to talk about developing your content strategy. Now, our agenda today is going to include a definition of content strategy, define why you need a content strategy, help you figure out how to create a very simple content strategy. Go over some objections, because if you're like most people, it takes some time to develop content. And then we're also going to talk about content types and how to play to your strengths. And then we'll summarize everything for you today so that you can walk away with some great tips. So let's get started. What is a content strategy? Well, a content strategy refers to the planning and the development and the management of content. And that content can be either written content, it can be media, such as video content, it can be a podcast, for example, can be articles. There's lots of different ways that you can create content, and we're going to talk about all of those today. So the first thing I want to remind you is that anything that you're writing should be authentic. Don't try to be someone who you're not. In other words, always play to your individual strengths. Be authentic. All right, stay in your lane. Everything that you do, write, record should be something that you really enjoy writing about or recording, because I promise you, if you write and if you record things that you actually enjoy, then you're going to be more passionate about it and you're going to sound more engaged to your readers. And so that's really important. And then when you are being authentic, you're actually creating really a personal brand and some trust, because people know if they go to your content, they're going to see things written a certain way and about certain things. Some people are going to like the way you write. They're going to like the way you brand yourself. Some people may not, but that's okay. Everyone has a different and a unique style. And then cater your content towards your ideal targets and your ideal clients. Think about what they would like to read and how they would like to read it. I think that's really important. All right, sometimes we have to get out of our lawyer comfort zone and get into our client's seat to think about what they want to read and, again, how they want to read it. So you can always ask them. That's a great way to find out. Now, a content strategy is critically important, and most of you have probably figured out by now that I'm very big on planning and having a written plan. And I will tell you why, because when you have a plan, it's just like your roadmap. You can stay on course. It gives you direction. It gives you strategically not only a beginning, but also an end. And so I think it's really important to have a very simple content strategy. And so for me, I decide on the types of content that I enjoy writing. I will tell you, I do not enjoy writing long form articles, for example. I enjoy short form, somewhere between 400 and 1,000 word post articles that highlight certain facts. So what I am looking for in terms of types of content are opportunities to place that type of content. So where do I place those? Well, I need to be looking for things like Digest, LinkedIn, things like that. Now, obviously you may like long form, and if you do, that's fantastic. You're going to be looking for magazines, for example, trade journals, bar association publications, things like that. All right. Now, when do you get your content published? Well, most publications have an editorial calendar, although some do not. But you want to find out if there is an editorial calendar for the content that you want to create. When would it most likely be published? All right, so that's an important thing. Find out when you're most likely to be published. Other short form content publishers will say, just send us content and we'll get it in a publication cycle. But know that. And then have a key contact at each of those publications, because the better you get to know them, the more they're going to want to publish your content. Create a timeline. For me, I want to get 4 really good short form articles published widely each year. So once a quarter, I try to make sure that I do that. Now, I also post a blog. I try to do that once a month. I also do a podcast. I try to do that every 2 weeks. But I have a timeline of when I'm going to publish these things, and those timelines are set out on my calendar so I can keep up with those. Make sure that you're following up with the publication. Are they going to publish your content? If they're not going to publish it, why? Did it not read well? Was it too long? Was it too simple or too complex? All of those questions are important things for you to ask, and you can always ask them to be honest with you because you want good, honest feedback so that you can cater that content to that specific publication on a go-forward basis and get published. And then promote your content. Every publisher wants you to promote the content. So once they publish your article, make sure you repost it on LinkedIn, on Twitter, social media, on your website. Make sure that you're also pushing it out to all of your connections and things like that, because that's really what they're looking for. Now, this is a great statistic because it tells you that content marketing is quickly becoming the best and most successful way to attract and convert customers. Now, customers can also be clients, just remember that. So 78% of consumers, and again, your clients may be more business consumers, but they like to get to know a company via articles rather than ads. So many law firms, and yours may be one of them, run some very beautiful ads. But I will tell you, if you can educate your ideal clients and your target prospects and your existing clients with content, they will find more value in an article than they will in an ad. All right, so all of that's an important thing for you to know. Why do you want to create content? Well, it will increase not only your firm's brand, because your firm is going to help you hopefully promote your article and your content, but it also creates your personal expertise and experience. And so that's critically important for your long-term success as well. It also will drive traffic back to your bio. You're going to have your name, obviously, in the publication and a link to your bio, your email address. You're going to have your law firm's name. So again, it'll drive traffic back to your law firm website. You want to make sure that your law firm is putting your content on your bio, on your practice group page, on your publications page, all of those things, okay? It also helps get visitors sign up for newsletters, blogs, all kinds of things like that, especially if you post your content in multiple places. For example, let's say that you get an article that's published in a trade journal, but then it's reposted in your firm's newsletter. And then let's say that a practice group sends that out as part of their blog series. All right, so all of a sudden you've got lots of ways to gather information and contacts from that, because people will reach out to you and ask about the article. And many times your marketing department is downloading the names of people who are actually clicking on your content. So that's an important thing as well. And then once you figure out who's reading your content and who wants to actually publish your content, you can figure out and narrow down who your prospects are. And so you can convert those prospects into leads, and then hopefully those leads into clients. All right. So that's important as well. And then it just gains more connections for you. I will tell you through LinkedIn, when people actually look at your content, they like your content. You want to make sure you're connecting to those people who like your content. Thank them for liking your content. All right, so all of those things are really valuable, and content is one of the ways that you can gain all of those advantages. Now, realistic goals. I have coaching clients who tell me all the time, I'm going to do 7 blog posts in the next 3 months. Just forget about it. You're not going to do 7 blog posts in the next 3 months. Nobody has time to do that many, unless, of course, you outsource it, and then you may be able to have time to do it, but you would have to pay to do that. But I will tell you, set realistic goals, all right? For example, publish 1 blog per month. All right, 1 blog per month is a lot, and you're probably, if you did that for 10 months out of the year, you published 10 blogs, you would be doing more than 99% of all of the other lawyers out there. Create 1 valuable piece of content on LinkedIn per week. And again, that doesn't have to be a short form article even. It can be you reposting someone else's article, for example, from your firm, and saying, this is a great article from John Smith in our corporate department about XYZ. Everyone should read this because XYZ. All right, and then repost. That is a valuable piece of content, believe it or not, for you, because you're sharing expertise, and it's also sharing something you didn't have to write. So that's important as well. Create one podcast every 2 weeks. And I have coaching clients who say, oh, it's too hard to create a podcast. Well, it is not that hard to create a podcast. And in fact, as part of your training, you can actually click on a lesson on how to create a podcast. And I would encourage you to do so. Schedule lunch and learns. And these can be small things. And what do I mean by that? Let's say you're in the insurance defense industry, for example, and you want to schedule a short lunch and learn with 4 or 5 adjusters. Create a little short PowerPoint, do a Zoom call, and share that content with 4 or 5 adjusters. Make it fun and engaging. That is content. And then post on LinkedIn that you did that. Maybe even take a picture of yourself while you're actually in that meeting. That's a great way to do it. And then you can also share your slides that they can share with other people that are working with them. Facebook Live is becoming a very powerful way to share content, as well as YouTube, which is something that we use. All right, write one ebook a year. An ebook is a book that's usually less than 30 pages. It's chocked full usually with tips. All right, it's not chocked full of words. All right, so an ebook is relatively easy to write, and again, there's some great courses out there on how to write an ebook, and I think that is a great way to get your message out. Obviously, a great way to show your experience and share your knowledge. And then create infographics. We've all seen infographics. Those are those great little things. You can even use them as bookmarks sometimes, but they actually, by a picture or comedic strip, tell a story. And those are great things for you to do as well. Now, how do you find this time to create this content? You know, nobody has time to do anything, right? I mean, I hear you. All right, everybody struggles with time management, and I hope that you've had an opportunity to do the lessons on time management within this course because they're very powerful. But I will tell you, you really do have to focus. Find some time to focus on creating your content and then say, I'm going to knock this blog post out in the next hour, and then knock it out. Don't overanalyze it. Obviously, you don't want to have something with a bunch of grammatical areas, but remember, you're not writing a law firm article. You know, you're writing a blog post that clients can read and easily digest. All right, so it doesn't have to be, you know, some great work of literary genius. It just needs to be great content. All right. ABC, always be creating. You read something, you think, oh, I could write a blog post about that. Take a note on your phone. I record things in my phone all the time and say, oh, this would be a great blog post. And then I just, you know, say what it was and kind of my ideas about it. And then when I have time to focus, I go back and will create content, either a podcast, something like that based on what I've just read. Block out time to create. I have a lot of people who tell me this is very effective for them. They create content only on Saturday morning. That's a great thing to do as well. Find your rhythm of when you can focus and when you can find that time to create. And then add an insight. So when you're creating content, I think a lot of times we don't want to add our personal opinion to it. But I will tell you, adding some personal touch to your content is very it's a very good thing for you to do, and it also makes it more enjoyable, and so you're more willing to do it. And then routinely set aside time to create content. Remember, and I talked about this earlier, it doesn't have to be perfect. The imperfect is sometimes even better, a more conversational style. And then set a deadline. We've talked about your content strategy. Set a deadline on when you're going to push this content out. Then use the apps. There are all kinds of apps out there. There's Grammarly, all kinds of things you can use to help you with your content and to make sure that it's correct. You can grade your content. That's another great thing to do. Mix it up. Some people like to create just written content, some written and podcasts. Some people like to do webinars. Whatever it is that you like to do, mix it up. That'll make it more exciting for you, and you'll be more willing to find the time to do it. Copy your content and improve it. And what do I mean by that? Let's say that you do a podcast. If you've done the research to create a nice 15-minute podcast, for example, copy that and turn it into an article, a short form article. Those are pretty easy things to do, and we're going to talk about leveraging in a few minutes. Outsource if you need to. I outsource some of my blog posts. I'll be happy to share with all of you all who I outsource my content to. It's a very cost-effective strategy. All right. Prepare a content calendar. Many people say, I'm only going to do podcasts. For me, I only do them on Saturday morning because it's quiet. All right. But make sure that you're preparing a content calendar for yourself. Repurpose. Again, make sure that you're putting your content in multiple places. That will help you because it will look like you've published even more content because it's in multiple places. Sorry about that. And then drink a beer. I drink a glass of wine, but sometimes just relaxing from the day before you start to write. Obviously, you don't want to do this at 10 o'clock in the morning, but having a nice drink after work and sitting down and knocking out some content is a very relaxing and fulfilling thing to do. So I would encourage you to think about that as well. And team up. I mean, you don't have to write all the blogs, okay, for your practice group. Team up with someone else. You write the content, let them look at it and review it, add their 2 cents to it, maybe add a couple of bullet points that they're interested in adding, and then co-author. That's a great way to create content. Same thing with podcasts. Do a podcast interview style. Do a lunch and learn like we talked about earlier with 2 lawyers instead of just 1. There's some great ideas out there. And then I talked about leveraging earlier, and what I want you to understand is that every time you create content, you should be putting that content into multiple places. And so on this slide, we just have an example of a blog post, but let's say you have a blog post. Traditionally, what you would do with that is you would maybe turn that into a PowerPoint so you could do a speaking engagement. Based on that blog post. You could have your graphics department turn it into an infographic depending on the type of blog post. You might do a webinar based on that blog post. You could record a video and a podcast, okay? You could put it up on your law firm's website. You might do several segments of that particular blog post and create an entire ebook. You see where I'm going with this? Your blog post might not only be in your firm newsletter, but it might be in a trade group newsletter, for example. You can post that blog on LinkedIn. You can record it and post it on YouTube. You can put it in a discussion group on LinkedIn. All of those things really help you leverage your content. And I promise you, when you see that people are reading your content and it's resonating with them, then you're going to want to produce more content and make more time to produce more content. So leverage, leverage, leverage. There are lots of different types of content, and I don't even have them all covered here. But blogs, for example, are a great way for you to create content. They're usually easy to write, they're pretty short, and you can publish those on multiple platforms. We've already talked about articles. We've talked about long form articles and short form articles. There are posts. What I'm talking about there is posts on LinkedIn primarily, but you can also do posts on other social media platforms. And then, of course, there's webinars. Webinars are great because you can register people for your webinars and you get their contact information when you do that. And again, there's a whole lesson on this particular platform on webinars and how to create stellar webinars. So I would encourage you, if you're a great webinar person, to look at that particular lesson. Then you could do podcasts. Podcasts, in my opinion, are pretty easy, especially if you're like to speak but not necessarily in public. It's a great way to get your voice out there and get some expertise out there and some branding out there for yourself. Infographics, those pictures that give a message, they're great. Content strategy tools. And then there's case studies. If you have a great case, something that you've done that you're willing to share, those are also great ways for you to share content. So lots of different ideas on types of content. And then consistency. One of the things that I don't like is when I go to a blog and the last blog post they did was in 2019. Make sure you're being consistent with the type of content. So whatever you decide to do as your main content strategy format, be consistent in doing that. So if you're going to do blogging, do 1 blog a month. If you're going to do podcasts, do X many a year. But it gives your audience an expectation that they can hear from you and they will start looking for your content. So that's really important. All right. And then set realistic goals. We talked about that before. Stay in your lane and be authentic. We talked about that earlier, but I can't emphasize that enough. All right. Be yourself. Let your personality show. Share some personal insights. All of those things are important when you're creating content. And then promote your content. Ask your law firm peers to share your content. Get your content out to your client base. Post it on LinkedIn and Instagram and your firm's Facebook page. All right. Republish it in trade journals. All of those things are important. And then you'll reap the rewards. I almost promise you that you will. People like lawyers who actually are putting themselves out there and creating great and valuable content. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of that. So thank you again for joining us on this lesson. Remember, there are all kinds of resources available right here on the Proactive Practice page under the Resources tab. So make sure you're checking out our resources. I want your comments and I want your feedback. We're not perfect. We're always looking to improve. So make sure you're giving us that feedback. And then make sure that you're adding to the discussion. There's discussion groups on this particular page, and I want to make sure that you're learning from others as well. Again, keep up the great work. Everyone's doing a great job, and I hope you're enjoying the classes as much as we're enjoying delivering the lessons. Thanks so much.